The latest update for Sea of Thieves dropped today as part 2 of Season 10's Super Season. While it kicked off with guilds 4 weeks ago, I think most players were excited about today's offerings. With the headline piece of content, the Skull of the Siren song as a PvP Voyage / world event hybrid, feeling like a much needed win for this game, and that's not all that was released today. We got some new, yes, actually new clothes in the gold shops, the persistent Pirate Emporium updates, and some quality of life changes. Skull of the Siren song is our meat and potatoes. It originally was due to launch in Season 11, but since Season 10 was delayed 2 times and lasted about 7 months, Rare brought forward this content for Season 10 to cushion the blow. I mean, it was probably due out in November anyway, but who's counting? The premise is pretty simple. At timed intervals, you'll receive this ghostly little note on the mast of your ship, letting you know the voyage is active. You would vote on this like you would at the captain's table, and it opts you into the voyage and gives you a set of 2 maps. The 2 maps are shared by any crew that voted to partake in the event across the server. Both are X marks the spot maps, one for a chest and one for the key. Players will have to race to dig them up and bring the chest and key together. Opening the chest reveals the Skull of the Siren song. The objective is to get the skull to Captain Briggsy to complete the voyage, but only the crew that gets the skull will be rewarded. Sounds easy, right? Well, there's a few caveats. The skull, key and chest is always visible on the map, but the skull is also accompanied by a beacon of light, allowing players to track the skull's location at all times. The skull can also be used as a weapon, very similarly to the Ashen Wind skull. It screams instead of using a flamethrower that damages players. On top of this, the Skull of the Siren song contains a curse that slows any ship that it's on, so there's no outrunning your opponents to snatch an easy win. You will be fighting for this, unless there's a few sneaky ways to bypass this mechanic. Players opted into the Voyage are able to see the turn-in point too, meaning the holders of the skull can be cut off at any point. The structure of the Voyage means there are so many ways to utilise the Sea of Thieves sandbox to make sure you deliver the skull. You can hide at a destination island, you can do some sneaky rowboat plays, or you can crush every ship in your path to ensure no one can challenge you at the island. I love the concept of this introduction and brings together the best aspects of Sea of Thieves to make a really engaging piece of content, at least for now. On a story note, Briggsy is back with no real explanation other than her needing the skulls, probably linked to finding the underwater temple for the cure to the skeleton curse. But if you're expecting some continuation of the story, then you'll just have to lump it for a few more months. The rewards for this are, let's just say Rare chose to go for quality versus quantity. Players can earn Captain Briggsy's jacket and mask, both of which were heavily requested by fans, and one of which I might actually start rocking. The other 3 items are all ship parts: the Skull of the Siren song flag, sails and figurehead. They're fine, there's nothing super mind-blowing, but we do lack blue cosmetics in the game, so I'm kinda happy about that. I would love to see Briggsy's Hellbound Dove and Homeward Dove sails as another reward, along with the rest of her clothing. As for the commendations, you need to sell 30 Siren skulls, dig up 30 chests or keys, and open 30 chests. It's a relatively respectable grind, although I do hope new grades are added in future seasons. My only concern is this becoming like all the other world events when people begin to finish their commendations, and the gold value is pretty bad. See, you don't get gold for turning in the skull per se, but as part of the voyage completion, and the total for selling the skull is 50,000 gold, and it does not scale with the emissary value. This makes it the lowest paying world event and concerns me about the longevity of the activity, especially so when you consider people will be fighting tooth and nail over this. Although I must admit that's not going to take away from the fun factor. Aside from that, this feels like a monthly update from 2020, we get a new activity and a handful of commendations, just like Ashen Winds or Heart of Fire. Rare has also gone and added new clothing with new models to the gold shop too, which is the first time this has happened with a full set in a while. The gold leaf items continue after the weapons and ship set released last month. Any guesses for what will be in the equipment shop next month? This clothing is really neat, unique, and it's definitely worth picking up. It's probably the best gold store refresh in a long time. The Pirate Emporium got some new stuff too. The Ravenwood ship from Season 8 returns with matching weapons and spyglass which had not been released so far. The Festival of Plenty instruments and pet outfits make a return too. The free emote is Angry Scribe, which I find hilarious. These are always good. The quality of life changes include a new hit marker and new sounds for when your gun is out of ammo. In terms of the new hit marker, you'll now be shown a red marker when you make the kill instead of just the death sting. And for me, the gun sound doesn't seem all that different, but let me know what you guys think. Oh, also for some reason our characters are in different positions when you're looking at the clothing.
Huh?
Anyway, that about covers the new update. Obviously check the patch notes for smaller changes, but I'm overall really happy with this update, and it takes me back to the monthly updates of 2019 and 2020. New clothes, new activities, an Emporium update, and some bug fixes makes this a monthly update in everything but name. Maybe it's time to make all seasons more like Season 10's release schedule.